This week marks the 12-month anniversary of the monsoon event in North West Queensland. We thought this an appropriate time to share some stories with you of the resilience and courage we have when we support one another through unimaginable challenges and move forward one step at a time. Australia truly is a country of extremes as drought, flood and bushfires become our reality. Australians' spirit of kindness, humility and strength allow us all to carry on throughout our hardships. Marty and Camilla Rogers live 70 kilometres from Richmond in North West Queensland. Camilla kindly sat down with me to share her story of hope and courage in the aftermath of the monsoon. Every cattle producer that experienced the flood in 2019 has a different story to tell, and I'm here to learn Camilla's story and to find out where they're at the moment, and going into the future. So Camilla lives on Bylong Station, which is about 70 kilometres from Richmond.
Correct.
Yeah. So you didn't actually flood on this place, did you, Camilla? But you have other places around the area that flooded badly.
True, Kelly. We didn't flood up here. We're north of Richmond and we're just north of, on the northern side of the heavy rain here in this catchment.
Yeah. So tell me about, what happened, at the beginning.
Beautiful rain. We were all very excited to have rain, and as it progressed, the thought that there was going to be some flooding in and around, particularly on the Downs places at Wyangri where Mum lives, and then Carnworth, which is south of Maxwellton. So Marty, my husband, had gone for a fly with the local pilots and gone down and assessed the country, had moved cattle on about the Saturday, and felt that from experience and knowledge that we had of previous floods that the cattle were going to be all right. By Tuesday night, the 5th, when the serious rain fell here, we got 16 inches in under 24 hours here, and knew that it was going south in the south.
Camilla, we were looking through some photos, and the photos of the cattle that the boys were shifting, in the chopper, they were quite low, like skinny, and looked not in very good condition, but that's not how they were when it started.
They were strong enough. It was very dry on the Downs. We were feeding molasses, but they were strong enough. We felt comfortable that given a normal wet season that they'd get the rain on the ground. Yes, they'd take a bit for some grass to grow, but they were all strong enough. But no, they weren't. They weren't for what came at them, and no one was prepared for that.
Yeah. So did most of them die in the flood or from exposure? Because a lot of
half and half.
Right. Okay.
We feel, or maybe more, 2/3 flood, 1/3 exposure.
Yeah.
There are certain pockets that we know that was just flood and they've just gone. And then particularly at Carnworth, it was exposure, where they had been moved to higher, drier country, and then they've all just moved to the northwest and gone and died in the corners down along the creeks.
So were most of did Marty have to shoot a lot of them? And
they did, in more than in the days post the rain, when a lot of them were in that hypothermia and they were dying. We didn't really know whether it was pneumonia or what it was. That is actually when we did most of our having to put cattle down, was in that period then. And I remember I wasn't in there with the boys and I didn't see all of it in particular. I did make it in right at the end, and they had been doing some flying, and I was at the homestead with Mum, and they came back to get a gun to go and put a couple more down, and I just remember how distraught it made my mum feel.
Yeah.
She'd done really well through all of it, and to see the emotion, because she'd been watching the boys come and go and what was going on more than me as well.
Yeah.
And that broke my heart to see her go. It's just not fair for them to have to do this.
Yeah. And Marty was also saying that when it did start to dry out a lot, the cattle were starting to perish because they didn't know that they could actually walk away to water.
And that was really strange, how quickly everyone in the district got to that stage. It went from let's get hay out to woo up. They're actually not even trying to eat that because they're perishing. They didn't realise that they could put one foot in front of the other and move out to go and find fresh water, and or if they were actually at troughs, they were then starving because they actually didn't think that they could walk. So
isn't it ironical to think all that water was around and they perished? Some of them. Camilla, I've driven out here and I came out through Winton and round through Cloncurry, and one interesting thing that I noticed was I did not see one kangaroo. Like normally, you know, you see heaps of kangaroos on the side of the road or remnants of kangaroos, but there's not.
They're up here in the forest. We've got them plenty up here. We have noticed that they've thinned out. Maybe they're just like everyone else, a little bit sceptical about what's down there. And Mother Nature does. I mean, there have been floods, fires and famines before. Mother Nature will reproduce itself on the downs. But yes, we definitely have got them here in the forest. But yes, Mother Nature thinned everything out. It didn't.
Didn't
dominate. Didn't discriminate just against whereas cattle producers have got. It took its own way of cleaning out nature.
And Camilla, it's still really dry. Like there's not a lot of feed around. You know, well from where I've travelled anyway. We
have been fortunate enough. What we have got is decent feed, but no, it's not thick on the ground. At Carnworth, 2 back paddocks down there picked up storms in June. And they also had been the paddocks that had got the early storms in November. So where that was, the grass has grown nicely. It's not thick, but it is nice grass. And at this time of the year, it's been good. The rest of it is, it's just grass. And no, there isn't a lot. There is a lot of weed in amongst it. So a nice wet season to see a full paddock again would be good.
What's it going to be like when it, you know, does start raining again? Do you think you'll have that in the back of your mind that you just hope it stops this time?
Probably don't think about that too much, Kelly, but it does. Like there has to be some sense, probably more when there's heavy rain. I do wonder how we're all going to react to it. Some sentiments, particularly those that were most affected in their own homes, we weren't like that, and that has to have been a dreadful feeling for those people. So when it does decide to rain properly, one of us, we're all going to get excited, but I do wonder what our nerves are going to be like.
It's the fear, I guess, of what's gone before.
Goosebumps.
Now Camilla, just moving forward to the immediacy after the flood and all the help that came flooding in.
It did flood in.
So you were telling me a really lovely story about a girl from Central Queensland that came out to help, and she was just one, but I'd love hearing this story.
A very special one that ended up in our life. We were trying to start fencing, and we really didn't know. We were struggling with the offers of help that were coming in at us, but we really didn't know where to start. And it was just like, well, let's start with one picket. If we get one picket in and just put 10 in today, we'll get going, and knew that that wasn't exactly how it was going to go. Had plenty of offers of help, but just kept putting them off. One friend from Charters Towers, Patrick Schaff, was very insistent, and gratefully so now that he was, along with a couple other mates, decided they were coming to help us. He arrived and got wind of a friend he knew from down outside Moranbah, girl by the name of Kerry O'Sullivan. We didn't have a clue who Kerry was, and she didn't have a clue who we were. All we know is that Kerry wanted to come north and give a hand, and felt very, very determined about doing that. Patrick got wind of it and said, actually, I know a family that could do with your help. I'm there, if you want to come join us, do so. Well, Kerry arrived down the road with polystyrene boxes full of home-cooked goodies from women around Clermont and Moranbah that had, and I think one of them in particular was her cousin, who'd baked. It was amazing. And she arrived. It was a feast. It was the smoko feast that just kept giving until...
the magic smoko, like the magic pudding.
It was. And Kerry came and very generously had on the back of her truck some steel pickets and some barbed wire and a very big heart and a very big engine. And she stayed with us for 10 days and then felt guilty because she was going home to her place and back to run her life. And we're very indebted to Kerry and now her friendship that has grown out of that. And it was only one story. I know that there's many more out there, but that was our story. It was truly a humbling experience.
And one thing that you pointed out was how difficult it was to accept that the steel pickets and the wire, you wanted to pay her for it. And
Yes, it was. It is. It still is.
Yeah.
She had to stand there and say, you have to know what it is for me to be able to actually give. And we had to accept that and hope that one day, for her in particular, that she's not in a desperate situation.
I knew what was coming and I was thinking, I bet she hopes you don't have to repay
She's not
her.
in a desperate situation, but we'd love to be able to just drive down there and repay her and or pay it forward to someone else, Kelly.
That's the greatest thing I think that's come, and it comes out of any tragedy, doesn't it? Like the kindness that comes.
Still gives me goosebumps talking about it. And yeah, this complete stranger has come into our lives with such generosity of heart and in the physical sense, and just given so much.
So Camilla, what is the way forward? Like, what do you think the future is for people out here, and what do they, in particular, what do they need? What's going to help them as far as government assistance, or what is the way forward?
Having done the first round of the grants and been very grateful to accept that, looking at doing the second round of the grants, and I feel that at this point I feel that they're a very good way. Each person's case is just it's so hard to put a blanket over what does everyone need, because every business is so different, how they financially were before, how their enterprise was, how their cattle were. Like, as an enterprise, yeah, we took a hit. We did take a financial hit, an emotional hit, but up here, we didn't lose the cattle like we lost down there. We know that we just need time and we will rebuild. We just need some good rain to grow some good grass, and we'll be able to rebuild. But given time and the ability and the banks to understand that, looking at them as a whole, if we're given time, we will make use of the $400,000 grant. We won't be able to use it all, and we need rain. Why haven't we applied for it? I was asked a question by Senator Stone the other day when we were in his presence at a meeting, and I said, one, we didn't have the mind or energy to do it, and I know there's accountants and that to do it, but I'm one like actually doing that stuff myself. But we actually don't have the grass, we don't have the ability to actually put them on, and we thought we could have done it in a grass sense earlier, but we emotionally couldn't face another November like we've faced the last 7 years, and that's to face a really dry November and have nothing on the ground, and we weren't doing that to ourselves again.
Yeah. So we need to wait for it to rain and then start thinking about going forward.
And know and understand that the bloke that you stand next to at the bar at the races, while he's got a grin and keeps turning up, he might be very emotionally struggling with his position, and it may be that all he can see is the dead cows, or maybe it's the financial part. But I think that while there's a big tinker armour out there on a lot of our men, I reckon that's where a lot of the emotional struggle is, and that them all learning to actually just, even only on one-on-one, talking to their mates and keep on talking.
Yeah. And I guess if there's one good thing that comes out of such an enormous disaster, is that everybody's in the same boat, so you're not alone.
No, you're not, but as humans we always tend to think we are, don't we?
Yeah, we probably do. Yeah.
And
we have to get over that, don't we? We have to.
When we go to the functions and you see everyone like they're jollying on, and it's not hard to look around and know that there are some places still only within 100 k's of here, especially to this North Country here, they're desperate for rain. Everyone, it's not that this is the only area, but a lot of people think that all this area got really good rain. Well, they didn't. It's not even 100 k's up here, and they're desperate for rain.
They missed out.
Yeah.
Altogether.
Yeah.
Camilla, thank you.
You're welcome, Kelly.
Thanks so much for watching our video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please try to remember to just click on the subscribe button so we can keep you updated with everything that's happening. Thank you.